All right. So before I start this talk, I got to give you a brief disclaimer. One of the reasons why we kind of decided not to put the title of this talk up on the website was because the first time and last time I did this talk, there were some very angry people. Angry people associated with the Iranian government who threatened the facility and myself. So, yay! Who doesn't like pissing off governments like the Iranian government, right? Come on now. So this is Revenge is Best Served Over IoT. If you don't know me, I do a lot of weird, wonderful things. I like to hack lots of stuff. I've been involved in some of the largest cyber warfare incidents. I also do some policy analysis as the distinguished chair of the Middle East Institute. And also, yeah, I end up going to a lot of weird and wonderful places. Yes, somebody's got to do it. Why have a boring InfoSec career when you can get shot at by the Wagner Group, right? Awesome. So, give you a bit of background. I think we all realize that there's been a lot of back and forth going on with Iran and nuclear ambitions and cyber stuff, and they've got cool names such as Charming Kitten and things like that, which is fantastic. If you follow the news, Iran loves nuclear. Whatever their ambitions might be, it could be just electricity, even though they have been caught enriching uranium to almost weapons grade. Back in the day, gosh, 11 years ago now, God, feels like forever, they got hit with something called Stuxnet. I heard maybe a Western government did that to take out their enrichment. They like to disrupt a lot of things around the world. Even as far as earlier this year, I was going to be in Burkina Faso to investigate and talk about the fact that the Iranians are selling their operational playbook when it comes to propaganda to an Islamic extremist group and terrorist group that they have been supporting with arms, and now they seem to be supporting them with cyber weaponry. So they like to do a lot of this kind of stuff. They also want to be a big player in the Middle East and Northern African region and want to make sure that they stay relevant. It kind of reminds me of this other country that wants to stay relevant on the world stage while doing some very awful things. So this is an interesting journey because it started in 2016, somewhere around there. And I got this LinkedIn message, and they were like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and we are looking for penetration testing training. And at the time, I was doing a lot of training, in the before times, before the plague. And I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like a vanilla request. Yeah, no big deal, right? So let me get some more information. And it was quite funny because at the time, I was getting interesting offers for illegal drugs. One of my CVs is in Chinese, so you would not believe how many Chinese folks were trying to get me to participate in the fentanyl trade over LinkedIn. Amazingly, LinkedIn still has a terrible reporting process for going, hey, LinkedIn, somebody just offered to sell me drugs. They're like, we have no way for you to report that. And still they have kind of denied that they have a proper reporting process when this was reported over and over again, the activity that I'm going to talk about to LinkedIn. So one of the things I did a few years back, because part of my background is in control systems, I kind of like the fact that you can use digital technology to move things, right? That's pretty cool, right? We got the battle bots and everything going on. But on a larger scale, my background is also the nuclear industry. So I've been to every British nuclear industry, power plant or enrichment facility that I'm aware of, to do lecturing for GCHQ's CPNI, which is Center for the Protection of National Infrastructure. I love all these acronyms. And what they were looking for was a hands-on course for penetration testing and ICS. I'm like, oh, well, I could do that too. No big deal. I've already done it before. Then, as the relationship was lasting, the term that they use is an agent handler. So this particular person tried to act as an agent handler to start recruiting me. And he was like, well, actually, what we really need is we would like you to come to Iran and teach us how to hack critical infrastructure with a focus on nuclear facilities. Sounds exciting, right? Yay! Not really, right? Because then, found out that this person worked for the Iranian government. As these things started to get a bit dodgy, they were like, by the way, we will throw you a chunk of money. Now, who doesn't want $100,000 a month? That's a lot of money, right? That's life-changing money. I got bills, man. I could so use that money right now. It was a pretty good offer, However, with that offer, the likelihood is that I would never be able to leave Iran. They even offered to take me on a VVIP tour and meet and greet some of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and have pictures taken, shaking their hand. Sounds like a good deal for $100,000? Takers on the stream? Any takers? So during this time, luckily or unluckily, I had gotten very, very ill from visiting a country. And so I had to do a lot of surgeries, something like 19 major surgeries, and 4-year time period. It was not pleasant. And this agent handler kept on with this relationship, trying to be very nice to me, trying to form a friendship, while little did he know I was taking down all the names, the people that I met with, and I was sending that to someone in the FBI. Unfortunately, that person in the FBI did not do their job, and they were an idiot. So with this particular campaign of trying to come off very friendly, they, for the benefit of myself, set up a bunch of fake websites. That was nice of them. After this was done and dusted and an investigation was started, I kind of felt like I was loved. I mean, who doesn't want to be loved by the Iranian government, right? They set up a whole bunch of what we call SOC personas. So fake social media and so forth, and all of these not valid IDs and so forth. And they could pick up my background, both from the news and from various conference websites, because I had spoken at a nuclear cyber conference in the past as well. So it wasn't like it was secret knowledge at all, which is not a big deal, unless you're dealing with the Iranian government. So over the years that this was going on, I had tried to reach out to various governments and government entities, and got hit with a lot of government bureaucracy, unfortunately, right? When I tried the CIA tip line, it had a recorded message saying that it was actually, instead of the tip line, but the PR and comms department of the CIA, then with another message giving you a number. So I kept trying to follow up. I heard nothing from the CIA. I had tried with the FBI. The particular agent that I knew didn't do his job at all and never followed up because of the fact that I was dealing with a sanctioned country. I tried the Department of the Treasury, and they just ignored me. I had mentioned the activity while I was trying to contact the authorities in 2 different presentations. And it was only by chance I was at one of my friend's retirement ceremonies as West Point Academy, and I get this message on my phone from WhatsApp, because they love using WhatsApp. And it says, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Listen, I want your home address so I can send you a gift. Who wants a gift from the Iranian government? All right. Nobody here put their hand up. Streamers, if you put your hand up, it's okay. You never know if that's ticking, that particular gift. So at this point, I thought, oh, well, this just must be normal, must not be a big deal because no one in the U.S. government seems to give a stuff, right? So I start laughing, and next to me, we're having drinks, and a guy's like, oh, what are you laughing at? Thinking that I'm going to show him a funny meme, right? You know, maybe a dog on a skateboard or something. And I'm like, nah, the Iranian government wants my home address so they can send me a gift. And he wasn't laughing. And it turns out that he worked with a bunch of 3-letter agencies and got his team to start investigating. I heard back shortly that due to everything going on, the FBI finally reached out to me, and were very nice, informed me while I was at a conference, where actually this WhatsApp message was included, that the Iranian government had murdered several exiles in the Netherlands, and they thought that my life was in danger, and to not engage in any sort of communication with them again. So with this, again, they love WhatsApp. So I brought up the fact that, you know, doing business dealings, how is my ass going to get paid? And he's like, well, you know, we can't do business with you directly or EU companies directly, but we still do business with these EU companies. And alluding to the fact that they openly skirt sanctions to the Iranian government. Who wants to skirt sanctions and end up in jail? Again, nobody. That's just not my thing. So I unfortunately turned down this gift. We even looked at trying to arrange something to be delivered with another address. But they could not get the FBI and the Netherlands Dutch government to agree to a potential, you know, exploding gift to be delivered because of security reasons. So that was interesting. Still wonder what that gift was. I have gotten gifts from various intelligence agencies from other governments that had to get checked through, make sure that wasn't poisonous or ticking or a surveillance apparatus. So, in 2020, in the before times still, oh, I remember those times. I ended up going public with this and going, hey, you know, Iranian government been trying to recruit me. Journalists checked it out. Sean Gallagher shared all the messages with him that I had. And so he wrote up an article because it was kind of unusual. I mean, they were trying for years to recruit me. It's really not the type of love that I want or need. I'm just putting that out there. So once this article came out, someone took pictures of where I live and doxed me on several, we'll say, extremist Islamic websites in Europe, and had to contact those countries' computer emergency response teams, and they actually removed the content from the websites. And by the way, great tip, make friends at conferences, because that's how I met most of these people who helped me through this journey to try to keep me safe. So I'm like, oh, can I curse? You want to fuck with me? I'm going to fuck with you. Right? All right. So I have a background in the Middle East, right? I work for the Middle East Institute. I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East. And so I read up on a recent law that they had passed in Iran. And it said that all mixed gender entertainment and restaurant facilities had to have a camera pointing back at the religious portion of their police. Now, I'm thinking, cameras at all these restaurants, all these entertainment facilities, going back to one source. I wonder if they have security, because the S in IoT stands for security, right? I also realized that because of sanctions, they could only purchase hardware from certain places, like China. We had the chap from Rapid7 yesterday describing some of the modules. Some of those in there are for some of the Chinese technology that I found, because that's all they can use. So I'm like, well, you put me under surveillance, I'm going to put you under surveillance. So I created a census dork. If you haven't used census, I do believe it's kind of like Shodan on steroids. They do not pay me. I wish they did. And so I created some ways to find over 10,000 cameras all over Iran. And of course, they were all exploitable credentials. Pfft, what is that? Come on now. And I could even adjust the resolution, turn on the audio, little things. So at another conference that I attended, it's called the Joint Services Academy Cybersecurity Summit. The top 75 people in the United States get invited. So I get invited, and I had met the chief strategist to the director of the NSA. And we became friends. His name is George. That's all I'll tell you. That might not be his real name. And so I gave this information over to the U.S. government and to my friend George, because, quite frankly, it's a perfect opportunity for the U.S. to track people, to do facial recognition, all sorts of things. Again, fuck with me, I will fuck with you. So I do perhaps look at Iran a lot. And this is just an overview of some of the more, we'll say, exploitable things that are hanging on their internet accessible devices. So I just picked the ones that are very open. And as we can see, a lot of embedded devices, they are also, and many times, IoT devices. They can be printers, they can be anything like that. Usually they have little to no security. If they have a logon page, they've never been tested for cross-site scripting or anything like that. They're very easy to pop. FTP, I would not recommend FTP. RDP means I own your system, all the way down to some of the control system protocols like Modbus and S7. S7 is from Siemens, and that was some of the equipment that was hacked in Stuxnet. And they're actually not allowed to have S7 because of sanctions or any Siemens equipment. So I found those. And Modbus, the reason for its popularity in the control world is when it was put out, it was basically their version of an open source. You could use it without license. But it also will take a command in hexadecimal, if you know what you're doing, from anywhere without authentication. Fantastic protocol to hack. Yay! Lots of SMB, DNS open resolvers. There was a talk, track 2 on DNS taking over. You didn't even have to bother with his way of doing it. You could just, grab their DNS. So fantastic. And so they tried to persist. So I started getting other threats because I got pissed that their stuff was taken down from the website, my personal information. Contacted a good friend up in Scotland. Used to be a private investigator for some of your interesting intel agencies and interesting places. I will say, always try to go for best friends when you're doing this type of stuff and you think that a government wants to possibly kill you. You have to make sure that you have trust in that individual. And last year, after I thought, okay, this is finally died down because I'd already had to flee my house on several occasions previously. So His Business Insider news article came out in, I think it was February last year, where I was quoted in it saying, "Revenge is best served over IoT," talking about how I turned their surveillance state against them. And then on WhatsApp, I get an angry message. And they put the link, I'm not clicking the link in their WhatsApp message, to the story, trying to say, "Oh, well, in the story you mentioned that we were asking about Saudi Aramco." I know about Saudi Aramco. I helped them recover from a very devastating cyber warfare attack that the Iranians did 10 years ago. "We have nothing against them. Oh, blah, 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 blah. We don't like you. I'm pissed off." That was the gist of the conversation. So contacted the authorities. They took the messages as a credible threat. And so last year I spent 7 months away from my house between various types of police protection, staying with friends in the middle of nowhere, trying to keep myself safe, speaking with the Dutch police, the FBI, et cetera, et cetera. And wherever I traveled, the Dutch police would speak with those folks. Like I had to go to London, and so they suggested I stay at a hotel right next to Scotland Yard. They were notified that there was a risk. Last year, when I had to go to NATO's southern operations in Naples, they had to pick me up and drop me off at the airport with an armed guard. And when this talk was announced, whilst I was leaving Naples to go to Vienna, the Viennese police had to be notified as well. And again, fuck with me, I will fuck with you. So I had some friends look at the phone number that the angry messages came from, and they determined that that phone number had been used to purchase a domain. I looked up the domain and the IP address where it was hosted in Germany, and it was an entire operation of Iranian fake news sites and propaganda. So I contacted the FBI, and it got taken down. And the guy fucked an entire operation by sending me angry messages over WhatsApp. Yeah. So, just before my my talk in Vienna at DeepSec, and if you haven't heard of DeepSec, they have two conferences, one for regular folks like us, and also Deep Intel, which is only for Intel folks. I have to tell them that I'm willing to do a talk there later this year. And just before my talk, I started getting some interesting tweeted death threats. And also there were threats against the conference hotel and the conference. They had to arrange for me to be put under another name for the hotel, all, super secret squirrel, all this kind of stuff. And while I was on my way to Vienna, and I was waiting at the airport with the police, got contacted by an Israeli friend who said, one of my friends just got doxxed on Iranian national TV with his home address, pictures of him holding his dog on social media, saying that he was attacking Iran, which was completely false. That's actually not what he does. He's a very charitable person who runs a not-for-profit. So, in this field, we have to be on the lookout for governments who want to do nefarious things. Late last year, the Iranian government, they sent people here in the UK to pretend to be academics to then try to hack into colleges. They hacked a couple of websites and to try to get private communications between Middle East-focused think tank people and academics and try to find out dissident information and so forth, because the Iranian government they like to kill people as well. We've had bombs go off in Europe. We've had contract killings, etc. And when you think, oh man, I'm just doing a vulnerability analysis, or I'm just doing this red team thing. But you have special skills that they would like. And it may be tempting, that $100,000 a month. God, I would so use that money. But you will never be able to leave the country of Iran. Your communications will never be private again. And if you do return, you will be put in jail. Which again, it's not the greatest thing to end up. Trying to report these things, it is a pain in the ass. I have no idea why it took so long, and it was just by happenstance that it actually got investigated. So governments out there, if anybody works for any of these particular agencies that might be interested in information like this, I highly suggest they put a functioning tip line up on their website and engage with people who believe that they might be down the recruiting path. And also, do not accept gifts. Do not do even the smallest thing that could be perceived as something illegal or unethical, because they will use that tiny thing that you do on their behalf when you think it might be vanilla, and they will get you to go deeper in the rabbit hole and suck you in and spit you out. And when it comes to the Internet of Things, hack away where it's legal. The laws that I operate under are the Dutch laws, so I try to stick to those. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if I always stick to them. Just saying that, Dave, I heard he had legal training. So, you have fantastic abilities. And if you are unable to get your government's attention when somebody's trying to do something dodgy, like, I don't know, want to be taught how to hack a nuclear facility, and it's legal to do exploitation or exploratory research, revenge is best served over IoT. And smile while you're hacking the shit out of them. So, I want to give a big shout out to B-Sides Newcastle. I had quite a few people who helped out with this. Also, if you buy my book, I might be able to get Christmas dinner, or I need a job. So I'm your person if you are investigating Iran. Thank you so much for having me and showing up so early with the coffee stand being closed. We are jealous of you on the stream because you have access to coffee at home. Thank you so much.
Well, as my attorney, I think you should follow up with that.
Say nothing.
That was so cool. I'm always slightly terrified standing near you.
Well, I did survive an assassination attempt a couple of years ago.
This is fine. I've got a blanket. It's all good. Just wrap me up in John. That was very cool. Another round of applause, first of all. I think we might have some questions.
Indeed, I'm ready to run around and
Let's put Dave in the audience. I can't see, it's really bright up here. You had tequila last night.
Do we have any questions for Chris?
It's early, isn't it?
I got one!
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned about you're living in the Netherlands, so you're operating under, in quotes, Dutch law. What actually is their view on sort of like almost call it offensive research that you seem to be doing?
So the rules are, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not a lawyer. We actually have a PDF in English put up by our NCSC, where it has some of our most famous hackers dressed up in funny costumes describing the law. And the law basically says a few things. If you find an exploitable condition, you can prove it as long as it is not destructive or too destructive. If you come across a database, you might take a sample but not download the entire database. You have to try to reach out and contact the people, the organizations that are involved in a secure manner. You cannot sell or resell that information, which makes sense. And also, if you're a Dutch organization which is worth above a certain amount or has a certain number of employees, you also have to have a vulnerability disclosure mechanism for people to contact you. And if you find a vulnerability or an exploitable condition in the Dutch government and you report it to the NCSC, and it is true, they will give you a t-shirt that says, I hacked the Dutch government and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. An organization cannot sue you like they can in the United States for mentioning AT&T and how terribly weak and poor their cybersecurity is, because that's considered censorship. So we don't have a concept of what's called the SLAPP lawsuit. SLAPP lawsuit, if you want to watch a funny John Oliver, look up SLAPP lawsuit and watch Mr. Squirrel. So as long as you do those things, then you are not breaking the law. Good example is a good friend of mine, whose name is Victor Havers. 2006, before the election in the United States, he got a hold of a 2012 LinkedIn password leak, and him and some friends used the password from Donald Trump's LinkedIn from 2012 and was able to get into his Twitter account. And, they followed Dutch law. They were not arrested. The Dutch prosecutor said, you tried to alert Twitter and the, campaign, everything like that, the U.S. government. So right before the last election, he was like, I wonder if I can still get into Trump's Twitter account. Now, of course, Twitter said, all special blue check people have to have multi-factor authentication, and we have so much cybersecurity at Twitter. So he used password guessing, and on, I think, the second or third try, MAGA 2020, exclamation. And don't worry, the original password he got in, the group got in 2016 was, "You're fired." So he was able to get in. There was no two-factor authentication on his Twitter account. And the Dutch prosecutor did investigate and said, yes, you followed the law. The hack did occur, even though Twitter paid some dodgy-ass journalists, some of which are kind of famous, to say that, Twitter's security is so good, this guy must be lying. We have the best high-tech crime unit in the world, the Dutch high-tech crime unit. So we know what we're doing. We have a special segment. So they investigated and said, yeah, the hack occurred, but we will not be prosecuting Victor because he followed the letter of the law when it comes to our ethical hacking laws. So if that gives you an idea, there you go. So there's got to be more questions. I think I have time.
Yep. Come on. Who wants to ask a question? Dan, do you have a question?
Remember, your face is not being broadcast, so it's okay.
I have a question. What's your home address?
It is Buckingham Palace.
Nice.
Yeah. It's going to cost a fortune to heat this year. Too soon.
It's all right. She's in Sandringham.